Hello and welcome to BQ Prime, and you're watching a special interaction with Mr. Kirit Parikh, who is the former Planning Commission member, and he's also the chairman of the expert committee to examine the pricing guidelines of 2014 and 2016 for gas. Mr. Parikh, thank you very much for joining us on BQ Prime. You submitted your report
My pleasure.
on Wednesday with the ministry. Let me can you take us through the key aspects to it, because what you're saying is that move away from the current regime of linking it to the various hub prices, and link it directly to the crude.
Yeah, there are the committee had set itself three objectives. First, that we should really have a procedure which will, a policy which would increase India's domestic gas production so that we can reach the 15% by 2030 target. The second point was that we should really make sure that consumers get a fair price. And the third point was that we should suggest a policy which doesn't increase burden on the finance of the central government, so that we wanted to make sure that there is no adverse impact on it. So these were the main point. Then there are about 12, 13 different kinds of fields government has allotted over the years with different policy and prescription and constraint on this. But mainly we can divide it to three groups. One is one group is that the APM gas, the administered price mechanism gas, which is the gas coming out from the fields allotted to ONGC and OIL without any other consideration and any other requirement. And that was just something that the government is also 55-60% of the owner of this is the government. The government has been then administering the price for these things, so fixing the price, and therefore it is able to provide gas at less than the market price, cheaper to many priority consumers. The second group, one would say, is others which have been given various considerations, but by and large they have marketing freedom or pricing freedom, but there is a constraint on it that that price that they charge is subjected to an upper ceiling, which is periodically revised. The third group is post February 2019, which have total marketing and pricing freedom. These are the fields which are allotted after that period. Now, so the main thing we have to discuss is how we really deal with the APM price. The APM price in the past was determined by what the producers got in 4 developed country market, in US, in Europe, in Russia, and so on, and taken an average of these. Now, this in a sense may have been relevant when this was introduced in 2014, but today's circumstance in which India is importing some 50% of the gas, and there is a large number of different kinds of users, this didn't make sense. Because in any case, if you want to have a consistent, efficient pricing, it should really be the same price for consumers and not at the producer's end. Because producers may be producing fields gas from very different kind of field with different kind of characteristics, and their operating costs may be very different. So one didn't know really what was the logic for that in some sense. So we said, let's look at it differently. And that formula had at one stage a year ago given a price of $1.79 per million BTU. That is less than the marginal cost of extraction of ONGC and OIL. So the first thing we said is, look, there will be a floor price should be there on APM gas. We should at least cover the marginal cost of ONGC and OIL, and that would be around $3.50. So $4 price with a 10% royalty charge would leave them around $3.6 an MMBTU. So that's the floor pricing. Then we said that given the current uncertainty in the international market and large variability in gas pricing. At one stage, it had reached to the even $40-60 per MMBTU in some spot transactions. So this is really was not a time to say we can uh, really go to a free market as of immediately. Then then it was suggested that an upper limit may be given to them, maybe set. That limit we have, and a year ago they had a price of $6.1 an MMBTU. At that price, the CGD and other consumers were reasonably happy, and they didn't. And PNG and CNG consumers, that is piped natural gas given to households and compressed natural gas given to transport vehicles, they were also not really falling out, and there was just really a comfortable price in a sense was there. So we set the price at $6.5 an MMBTU upper limit, and said that this upper limit would be gradually increased every year by half a dollar per MMBTU. So, and we also recommended that by 2027, 1st January, APM price should be made free to all consumers. And that should be really free in the sense that it should be market determined without any these floor and ceiling price.
Okay. Mr.
Gas
Parekh,
will be sold to the institute. Yes, please go ahead.
yeah. So, Mr. Parekh, you put a floor of $4 and you put a ceiling of $6.50. Now, the view is that this would keep the prices at the upper end, because unless the crude prices don't fall to below 65, the prices will not come down below 6.5. So the gas prices will continue to remain at the upper end, or above 65 $6.5 as we speak. And while you have given a 3-year period where the prices are expected to stabilize and you can open up marketing and pricing distribution,
2 years.
freedom, 2 years. What is the guarantee that you don't have further geopolitical tensions which will lead to further escalation in gas pricing, which we have seen today?
You see, the way we have said APM price will actually be determined. Excuse me, is the following. We said that you take the crude import price for the previous month and take the average, and then apply certain ratio to it to get the APM price. And this price, if it is above the ceiling price is applied. If it's below the floor price will apply. Sorry, some allergen seems to be floating around.
No.
Then what happens is that clearly the price would, the uncertainty that you pointed out, what will happen? Would the Ukraine war will continue, or there'll be other kinds of wars or other kind of disturbances? No one can predict really future what can happen. So we are really, the assumption is that there will be prices would come down in the international market. Currently the availability of LNG, that is imported gas, is restricted because exporters don't have adequate capacity to liquefy it and then so on. What is under construction is that this capacity is going to go up by about 25% by 26 in 2 years' time, and another 20% it may go the year following that. So given that, one expects the price to really soften up in the international market. And I think the ripples that is caused by, not the ripple one, which is a storm that is caused by the Ukraine uncertainty war and Russia stopping the supply of gas to the Europe. All this would perhaps somehow stabilize in another 2-3 years. So we have given 4 years as till January 1, 2027 for this to get at some price and this. Now, if the international prices go up very high, then the domestic prices have to go up correspondingly. You cannot just say that you will continue to tax ONGC and OIL and the government and subsidize certain consumers. The consumer's fair price should be considered as one that makes them the pipe natural gas supply at a competitive price compared to the alternative users, alternatives. And that alternative is LPG, liquefied petroleum gas. That LPG is certainly a higher cost, is also imported, and its price is certainly linked to the crude price. So I think even if the price goes up, it would still be consistent with the opportunity cost of consumers. And the same thing applies to CNG, where that is the compressed natural gas given to transport vehicles. Their alternative is diesel. And since we are linking the price to import crude price, I think if this goes up, diesel price would have gone up equally, so that the competitiveness of these products will continue. As far as fertilizer is concerned, which is the third sector which gets cheap gas, is that it is really the fertilizer manufacturers are almost indifferent to what price they buy, because the government fully compensates them from the cost of fertilizer and the sale price of fertilizer. But nonetheless, I think if the government can supply price gas at a lower price to fertilizer manufacturers, their burden on fertilizers subsidy will goes down. There is one other thing one is worth noting, is that when the gas price increases by $1, that is what ONGC and OIL get, there is a net inflow of around 2,500 crores of rupees with the government because of royalty, because of dividend that they get as a majority shareholders, and the tax that ONGC or OIL will pay. So together, you can see that the low price is not in the interest of the government. Of course, they will get some additional money, and if they have to pay higher subsidy to fertilizer, the net balance is not very significant.
Sir, you have made a case for fair priced gas for two key sectors, CGD and city gas and fertilizers. But in your report, you had also mentioned about the power sector where the gas consumption is declining. Also, the fact that currently the gas prices are above $8, that makes it unviable for many of the gas plants to function as well. What is your view on that part of it? How to provide gas to power sector? Because many of the gas-powered utilities are underutilized currently.
So there is we have about 20,000 megawatt of gas-based plant. These were constructed when Reliance had promised a bonanza of domestic gas, and it didn't turn out. And currently, there is no, at that price, gas is not competitive to the cost of renewable energy or other energies. The other thing has happened is once gas output didn't materialize, and secondly, the price and the cost of renewables have dramatically come down. So there is no competitiveness. Market competitiveness of gas producer, gas power is not there. In any kind of a merit order ranking, they would come to be very low. So we have differentiated between two types of plants which run on gas. One is those plants which are connected, get gas from GAIL, and those plants, I think we have suggested that since GAIL, many of them have a take or pay contract. Now, that is really gives them a double whammy. If they take it, their cost would be even higher than what the price they will get. If they don't get it, they still have to pay for the cash. So we have suggested that maybe we can suggest that GAIL can waive this take or pay charge for such remote those power plants which are supplied gas by GAIL. The second set of for uh, power plants are those which are located in remote areas and getting gas from remote fields. Now, many of them have contracts to get gas at APM price plus something. And I think the main thing is while they're doing is because these remote fields are not connected to the national gas grid, they have to have a local market where the buyer, where they supply this gas. And once you have a gas grid reaches them, then there will be no compulsion on the local supplier, remote gas field to give it to them. And we should gradually bring them down. Simply because I think we have to recognize the reality that gas power is no longer competitive except in very small a niche market of supplying gas at peaking power. On the other hand, we don't have a very good power regime at the time of the day pricing, so that is also really working against some of these gas plants. But I guess eventually we will have to have a gas, a peaking power priced appropriately, and then some gas plant may work at a very low level. Large out of the 60 odd plants we have, gas-based plants, about 40 of them, their average load factor is very low. I forget what it is, but about 10-15% it is. And these remote gas fields, which are, plants which are served by remote plants, they have a load factor about 40% or so. So I think clearly, once the remote fields have an option to sell it to the gas grid, they would not want to sell it to them. And there will be some churning, etc. Now, the reason why we have given a period of 4 years for APM gas is that we know that most of these contracts will expire by that time. And then if you have announced in upfront that this is what is going to happen on January 1, 2027, they will decide, they will be the kind of contracts both the parties signed would have been reasonable and they won't cause any problems. If it's suddenly gone at the moment for, let's say, liberalization, what will happen is that many people have contracts and they will all go to courts and there will be a huge chaos in the market.
Sir, there's a point well taken that in your estimate, what percentage of the contracts get over and come for renegotiation in the next 4 years?
As far as we could tell, almost all contracts come over by that time. So that then by 26, or middle of 27, 26, they are all coming to close. But I'm not, we didn't carry out a survey or actually didn't understand it, didn't ask everyone to say how long their contracts are.
So will that mean that, if those which are coming in this transition period of next 4 years can immediately move towards the free gas-based or they will move to the formula-based gas pricing and eventually to the market-based pricing?
That's right. They will have to do that, and at that price, my guess is unless the gas price comes down as one expects on the international market, they would not be competitive with any of the other producers, other gas power sources.
You have asked for the monthly revision of prices as against the biannual revision that we normally see in gas prices. What we see normally in the last couple of years is that you have these short spurts of volatility in the crude market because of certain events. And
sorry, I didn't hear you.
Okay, so you have asked for the monthly revision in prices as compared to biannual revision, which is
My
there.
internet connection is unstable, so I missed your question. Can you repeat this, please?
Yes, you've asked for monthly revision in gas pricing as compared
That's right.
to biannual. But what in the last 2 years we have seen is that we have seen short-term spurt in prices of gas price or crude prices, and they come off within a quarter itself. It will go up by $10-20 and then come off $10-20. If in such a scenario you will see this kind of shocks coming in if you look at the monthly price, right?
Yeah, you see, the earlier scenario regime was revise the price every 6 months, but based on 15-month-old prices, 12 months previous to the 3 months average of that. And that created a number of anomalies because sometimes the lower current price is very low on the international market and your price is very high. And sometimes the international price is high and your price is very low. So I think this large lag has not really no economic logic behind it.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, one thing is, yes, you want to sort out the small ripples in this and not be subjected to this. In crude oil market, we are now not doing any of these things. It is really adjusting almost day to day. But every 15 days, or maybe the oil companies themselves determine what is the leg they want to use. So here we are saying 1 month, and so that you are in sync with the international market and cost of alternatives. But at the same time, remember that we have this upper limit, we have this ceiling between these. So if a very large spike comes into the international market, it would not really get translated at least in the next 4 years.
Okay. And the Indian basket itself is calculated on a 15-day lag period.
Right.
So effectively, what we are saying is that the pricing is 45 days old, right? In terms of average.
I'm not sure. I thought we were saying from 1st January, I mean, 1st of the month to 26th or previous 26th of the month to the 25th or 26th of this month, take the Platts price and use this and average this and decide on that price. That was the suggestion. I didn't know that this is not linked to Indian basket as such, but Indian basket is that.
No, yeah, please continue. Sir, so you're saying this pricing which you suggested is not linked to Indian basket, it's linked to Platts, basically last 30-day average of Platts.
In a sense, the Indian basket is also linked to it. So there is really.
But there's a difference between the Platts pricing and average and the Indian basket pricing, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Sir, you also have asked for to bring gas into the GST regime over the next 5 years. What is the rationale for that for you?
Yeah, I think there is all kinds of irrationality, if not with prices varying from state to state and so on. So you can say that, and the GST logic is the same as earlier when we introduced GST and other things. That is, use the best use of the resources and product and most efficient use. And so the same thing here applies. Now, the problem is, of course, that 3 states which produce gas will lose their revenue compared to GST. And so we have suggested the same formula, same remedy that was used last time, that 5 years the government will compensate them for the gas, for the losses in that. I don't know whether the states will agree or not, but this is the kind of possibilities is there. And I think it will be desirable to have a gas GST. Almost every player in the gas market ask for it.
So will this gas be not only at the production level, but also the taxation, GST? What you're suggesting is not only on the production level, but also at the distribution level as well?
Yes, because that would certainly, because, that would rationalize the price structure, the gas structure, this. Now, of course, you can think of a very high GST rate, which is revenue neutral. But it will be revenue neutral on an aggregate scale, not a state-wise revenue neutral. That's why you need to really compensate the states which lose their revenue.
So you're looking at a higher GST rate would be what, 28%?
We have not worked it out, but I think this is something that the GST Council, only the GST Council can work out.
Currently, what could be the average tax rate which gas producers are paying?
I think they're very different in different states, so I don't really know what it is.
Okay. So, it's something which the GST Council have to deliberate, because there are 3 states which will be
That's right.
affected
Yeah.
in that. Sir, how quickly do you see the government coming back on your proposal?
Well, we started out early with first thing with this. I can't answer that. That's only the government can answer. Now, my feeling is that the MOPNG was in a hurry to get this report as soon as possible, and we have we were earlier asked to give it in 1 month. Then we had sought extension for 2 more months, and we did submit the report on the last day of the 3-month period that was over. And I think the government will take its own time. I don't think MOPNG, the Ministry of Petroleum Ministry, should not take more than 2-3 weeks to prepare a cabinet note for this. But if they have to take, take a consensus from, the comments from the different ministries, then I think then maybe further delay. But since almost all ministries were represented, concerned ministries were represented in the committee, perhaps that may not take too long a time to get this thing done.
What about the stakeholder consultations? Where are all state or stakeholders on board with this kind of recommendation?
Well, the main one we have, which had wanted a slight relaxation in our system, was the CGD distributor. So we have not fully complied with their suggestions. We have given some further concession to them. That is, we have, instead of 3 years, we have said 4 years down the line where the prices would be liberalized. And that we are given, which is not really appreciated, we said that this 6,000 rupees may be given to them as a subsidy for every PNG customer that they connect.
And that should be sufficient for the kind of losses they may have to incur?
I don't see why they have to incur any losses given the prices that we
or the margins, let me put it this way, because or the margins at which they are working currently.
People may be working at 50-60% of the margin, and I have no responsibility of protecting it.
That's thank you, sir.
People should be satisfied with a reasonable margin and return on their capital investment. But do not, it was great for them when gas was supplied at $1.79 an MMBtu, and they reduced the price for the consumers, of course, in
Mr. Parekh?
And some of the distributors got more money. But by and large, I think they have been quite responsible. They have also changed the price at which they are selling to consumers when the price goes down. So I do think there is enough, at least I believe there is enough protection for them, because as I pointed out, the competing fuels, this price would already be lower than the competing fuels.
Mr. Parekh, it was a pleasure talking with you today. Thank you very much for joining us on BQ Prime.